oh, this makes me feel better, but then it makes me feel worse that I feel better about that.
Welcome to Love in Brief, an ABDL podcast focused on issues of love. So love for self, love for community, love for friendship, and love for summer travels. I'm looking forward to some international adventures coming up.
It's about that time of year, and you are venturing off the continent.
Off the continent, yes. I've been all over the U.S., but now it's time for me to go overseas. So
I'm so excited for you. I mean, I literally don't know another human being who's covered more ground in the U.S. So the fact that you are now going overseas and you're exploring well off of the continent, I think is going to be amazing.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. So,
and I know a lot of the folks that are listening are traveling, either day trips or long trips. So just wishing everybody safe travels. I think we'll probably try and keep a sort of regular schedule of Love and Brief through the summer.
So.
But chances are good we'll have a month that goes by instead of 2 weeks here and
that's
there.
That's okay.
Because that's summer schedule, baby.
Vacation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm Teddy.
And I am RY.
And today we are going to be talking about ebbs and flows in ABDL.
Yeah.
So I want to differentiate this from what you've maybe heard of before as the whole, binge purge cycle. So we've talked about that before on this podcast, actually, way back in episode 15. So
holy moly.
way back to the beginning.
Back when Love and Brief was actually brief.
Yes, it was a 10-minute episode.
My goodness.
Actually, a fun fact, I went back and listened to it before this.
Yeah.
And that was actually where the Nobody's Listening to the Sound of Your Pants came from originally.
That episode?
Yes.
No kidding.
Go listen to that nugget there from RNT.
I love that.
Yeah, it was great. And you even mentioned on there, that would be a great bumper sticker.
And then it became.
Lo and behold, you have stickers and
I think I have
now.
a magnet in front of me that says that. I do.
You sure do. Look at that. Anyways, so, I think binge and purge, and we've talked about this a little bit, and other podcasts have. Maybe we can revisit it too.
Yeah.
It's a very big topic, but that's based
sure.
on shame
Right.
and not accepting your ABDL desires.
Yep.
Versus today, I kind of want to take a little bit of a different approach and talk about, maybe right now you're not feeling a desire to engage in ABDL. It isn't based on shame necessarily, but more maybe stress or life circumstances. And I think it's a topic that all of us have experienced at some point. Maybe there's a season of life that is not as, ABDL centric as others.
Yep.
And I think that stresses some people out.
I am so glad that you brought this topic because even if the shame element isn't there, right, which we're saying is the distinction between these two, like you would love to be all into ABDL, but for whatever reason you can't, either physically, you don't have the energy for it, or psychologically, or whatever the block happens to be. Sometimes there's even, as strange as it sounds, shame in that.
Yes, it's almost the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Right. It's like, shame of having an ABDL side versus here, maybe it's a shame of not engaging in it more. Like, I'm not doing it right.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you've ever heard literally any other episode of this podcast, you know that as soon as you go, I'm not doing it right, you're probably wrong. But we all think it.
Right.
We all go through that experience.
Yes.
So I cannot wait to talk about this, and I'm so glad you brought this to us, Teddy.
Yes, happy to bring it, and looking forward to diving in here. So
me too.
We have two guests, as we usually do, and our guest today, I'll start with Kashi. Kashi, you might have heard before in this podcast back in episode 113. That was our great post-Capcom review episode. That was her first time going in 2024. And had a great little, just a discussion about what Capcom's all about. So I encourage you to go listen to that if you haven't. But Kashi, welcome back to the podcast. And if you wouldn't mind, tell us about your love.
Hello. Thank you for having me on again.
Of course.
Quite the two different topics.
Right.
But excited to be here to talk about it. So my love is very physical. I'm a very physical, touch-oriented being. So I love cuddles. I love snuggles. Just biting, anything I can get.
Biting.
And I'm a very kinky lover as well, I've found in the past couple of years. So my love and my love life kind of all revolve around that kind of world. So this is definitely an interesting topic for me. Because sometimes when you get stressed and it's already hard to engage in the kinky side of yourself, then it's hard to feel romantic sometimes too. So excited to be here.
That very sort of diametric opposition is what I'm super excited to talk about today, which is that you said, look, I love kink and I'm very deeply kinky. And also sometimes I don't feel that kinky. And I think that's exactly what we're here to talk about. So
precisely.
Perfect.
Yep. So looking forward to hearing, your perspective on it all. So our second guest first, though, I want to introduce is Blinkxz. And you've actually heard his voice potentially before, too. He was on our most recent New Year's Eve episode. That's 125. And he was the last voice on that episode. And I thought, he just really gave a great impassioned, just why he's grateful for this community for having this. And I loved his words, and I wanted to go last on there because it was like I started crying after that.
Me too. It was so touching. Yeah.
So I'm excited to have Blinkxz back on. So Blinkxz, if you wouldn't mind, tell us about your love.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be back. First of all, thank you so much for those kind words. It means a lot to hear it. Obviously, I'm so happy that those words connected with other people because they meant a lot to me too. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here. My love life and my love languages is still something I'm very much so, exploring and trying to understand more about myself. But I'm a very emotions based person. I'm a very physical based person as well. But having a strong sense of security is important to me. I've had some rocky relationships in the past and stuff like that, and so there's definitely a lot to still unpack. But I'm super excited to be here and to explore the topic for today.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. And so I guess we should also call attention to the fact that you two are in a romantic relationship, correct?
Yes.
With each other, no less.
In fact.
In fact, yeah. No, it's a perfect way to talk about this, I think, because we have our individual relationship with kink, but sometimes if we're in a relationship, we also have a relationship to each other, and we have a group relationship to kink.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So I'm glad we get to kind of address this from all sides.
Yeah.
And Blinkxz, you were such a rock star on that testimonial episode that really any excuse to talk is a good one, but really glad that you're back with us. I would love to know how this episode, Teddy, how did this come to be? What made you think of it?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I've been, I kind of peruse online, like the Reddit on the ABDL subreddit, and I see this topic come up quite a bit. And people are again, that anxiety around like, is it going to come back? I don't feel this right now. Where did it go? And is it going to come back?
Yeah.
The opposite of purging, right? Where it's like, I don't want this. Get it away from me. It's like, where did it go? I want it back. So that. And then I was spending time with our friends here a few weeks back, and just kind of hearing about their updates and in life and whatnot. And it just, I could hear from their stories that it's been a tough year. And I've also heard from many other people in my life that this has been a tough year, 2025.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can dive into some of the reasons for that, but just the world in general right now feels very unpredictable and uncertain. And I think that alone creates some stress. And then beyond that, of course, there's some personal things like work, finances, and whatnot. So I just thought, let's like tackle this head on. Let's not just avoid the elephant in the room. Like it's a stressful world right now. It's a stressful life for many people. So let's see how that stress that or many of us are feeling kind of goes into ABDL and our desires and ebbing and flowing.
I can so identify with that sort of stress. And it's funny because I remember at the end of last year, we were doing an episode and inviting people to speak into it. And how many people on the New Year's Eve episode said, this has been one of the hardest years?
Yeah.
And I remember in 2020 hearing, this has been one of the hardest years. And now it's 2025 and thinking, we're kind of under a chronic stress now.
Right.
This is no longer a momentary stress.
This bombardment almost.
Yeah. And, whether it's economically or politically or with social unrest or I think a lot of us have now experienced long-term stress.
Right.
That can have a real impact on every part of your life, including your kink life.
Absolutely.
And your sex life.
I mean, we just went through the pandemic, and now we're going into another era of uncertainty.
Yeah.
It's a lot to deal with. So I know I've also felt that same way this year too. I have to kind of control myself and not look at the world too much and focus on what I can control in my own life.
Yeah.
But sometimes even that's stressful.
Yeah. Yes,
so friends, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to kind of hear, what's your year been like so far? What's your current state? And how has your kink engagement been this year? So maybe Kashi, if you're okay, let's start with you.
Yeah, sure thing. It has been a doozy of a year.
Feel that.
Yeah, I ended up last year kind of when my local scene was having some issues, just like taking a step back for a while from that, as it does. And then on top of that, my landlord at my old apartment actually invaded my privacy and kind of was snooping through my apartment. I had given him consent to come in and like fix something, the toilet actually.
That's ironic.
Of course it was, yes. And so he came in, he fixed it. I watched because I had a security camera, which he unfortunately didn't notice I had until after he, finished fixing it. Walked around, looked through everything in my apartment, including my nursery, which the door was closed. He should not have gone in there. There was no reason for him to go in there.
Wow.
And I could just hear him like muttering to himself, like, this is fucking weird. This is crazy. This is insane. And I was like,
ouch.
Like I was actually sitting in my parents' living room at the time. And I was like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I can't do anything. Like, do I talk to him on like the camera and like let him know I can see him? Do I just not acknowledge it? Like, I've never felt that like helpless and just like completely shook. Like, it was a completely soul-crushing experience. I wanted to cry, I wanted to scream, and I couldn't really react because my parents had no idea of the implications. I said something, I'm like, oh my God, my landlord's going through my stuff. And my mom and my dad were both kind of like, that's kind of creepy, that's weird, but like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, you don't know I have a straitjacket, tons of ABDL diapers,
and
like
stuff. We're thinking of different things. Yeah.
A giant sign that says local pervert with ideas of different like content I can make like on the wall. Like, you don't understand. So I just went out onto the porch. I was crying. Blinkxz was actually there, and like he came out, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Help me. And it was hard.
That's so violating.
Yeah.
My God.
It was.
And I'm sure other folks out there have had that same experience, maybe not with their landlord, but with their family, if they're staying with family, and that kind of psychological impact. So yeah, what was the aftermath of that with your kink? Like, what was the effect?
Well, I no longer felt safe engaging in any of my kink activities. I honestly just didn't even feel safe living there either. I lived in constant fear of like an eviction notice, or him coming by and like accusing me of being weird or a freak or something, which never did happen. We never acknowledged it to the end of me living there. But I actually moved in with Blinkxz. So I got out of there and like I'm safe now. But I was kind of at like a high point when that had happened too, where I was like feeling pretty good about things, had recovered from the stress of, chaos in the kink community. And then that happened. And I kind of at that point was like, oh yeah, I've gotten over that whole shame thing. I don't have to worry about that anymore. And this brought it back like tenfold. But it was also the first time I had ever experienced anxiety related to kink that wasn't around shame, similar to what Teddy mentioned earlier, how kink can also just become a very like anxious experience, like but not involving shame. It was very much so like I didn't feel safe where I was living because of who I am. And that was like the first time that I had ever experienced that.
So you didn't feel shame about being kinky. You felt scared. Is that right?
Yes.
Like sort of like what's going to happen to me?
Yeah. And like I had to put it, like my employer's information on my lease application and everything like that. So he had my full legal name. Like he could have doxed me. He could have come after me. Like I didn't know. And like that was the first time I ever felt like there could be repercussions for who I am as a person and like these perfectly harmless things that I'm into. So that in and of itself, like, was just, kind of soul shattering, and really hard for me to come to terms with. And like, it definitely changed how I looked at the world and how I've interacted with it since. And it has made it harder to interact with kink. There have been a lot more days where I sometimes like, I'm sitting there reflecting and I'm like, there was like a magical pill I could take to just get rid of these impulses and like this part of myself, would I? There's bad days when I think maybe I would. But yeah, it's definitely a different experience when you start to like question if your interests and who you are as a person are just like inherently wrong.
Yeah. Man, I know that sense of safety and security is so important to things like sexual interest that it doesn't surprise me at all, though it is a massive bummer that like you're on this high, you're having this incredible kink life, things get hairy in the community, so it backs down, then you find your way back to it, and then you have this incredible violation of your sense of safety and security. And it doesn't surprise me at all that in that moment that that would back it down just like shame did, or just like insecurity does. And that can be really hard to recover from, especially if you don't yet feel safe.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think our psychological state, our mental health plays a big part into, do we feel like this self-actualization phase where we want to go and explore more stuff and bring kink into our lives actively? If we're kind of taken down a notch and we are trying to, just survive at a more basic level, maybe our kink desires are going to go away a little bit. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know. But in my own experiences, that's kind of the way it's been too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a little bit from my story, I mean, I went through a really painful separation 4 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time period, I was just so focused on surviving that it was hard to have any sort of kinky desires. And then as I started to heal, I actually leaned into my kinky side. I wore 24/7 for a while, actually, because it helped it was a coping mechanism for me to survive the stress. But that ebbs and flows of that all really showed me that, well, maybe if I don't feel it right now, that's okay. And as I get to a different phase, maybe I'll be in a different season of life. Right.
Yep.
And so, Kashi, I guess real quick to wrap up your story, like, have you felt that desire come back since then? Now that you feel safe again?
Yeah, so I was able to get all of my kink stuff out of my place and like keep it at like other people's houses. So that helped me a lot to feel safe while I was still there. Similar, kind of like a parallel to purging, except I wasn't getting rid of it. I was like hiding it for like safety, like get it to a safer place. And then once I moved out, there was an immediate like relief of like, I got my security deposit back. I'm no longer connected to that landlord or that apartment. And yeah, I've recovered immensely since then.
That's good.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's still like, even like anytime like a vanilla person comes over, I worry 10 times more about them accidentally stumbling into something and finding it than I ever did before. Like even when, for example, we had some vanilla friends over and one of them has a toddler. Toddlers go everywhere. And so they were able to like get a drawer open, and I knew that there was like 99.9% nothing weird in that drawer, but still like the heart attack I almost had when I was like, oh my God, did we check in there? I wasn't expecting anyone to open that. And it's just like, I never used to react like that.
Right.
And now I do. So there's still some lasting damage from that incident, but for the most part, it's a lot easier to live like this.
So clearly our living situations play a big part in that. If you live in a place where you can feel safe in having a nursery, putting everything out on display, having the room of your dreams, then, you might engage in it more often and feel safe in doing so. Versus if you, say, have a snoopy landlord, as Kashi mentioned, then that could be more difficult. You might have to hide things or, tear everything down really quickly and just you worry about, doxing or something like that. So, Blinkxz, I'm curious on your end, living situations. Have you ever been in a situation, with landlords, family, et cetera, where you felt that, that need to kind of downplay your kink?
So I grew up in a home with a lot of siblings. I come from a very large family. So all throughout my life, I was always constantly hiding anything that I was engaging with kink related. As far as downplaying and stuff like that, it's been a long time that had been happening.
Kind of an expert at it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I always thought so. Now I think back a little bit and I'm like, oh man, I'm not so
me
sure.
too.
Yeah, could have done better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is what it is. I think one of the first times I ever felt a real sense of like the ebbs and flows of ABDL outside of shame was actually I had somewhat of a similar experience to what Teddy was talking about, where I was going through a separation with my ex, and at the time it was really the first time in my life I was living alone for the very first time. I had been going to therapy, and I had decided that I'm going to really accept this side of myself. And as part of that, I decided to just, if I want to wear a diaper, I'm just gonna do it. And so there was quite a while where I was wearing 24/7, whether it was just a pull up or a diaper or whatever. But I went. It was New Year's, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just see how long I can go for the New Year. And I think I went like 2 months of just wearing 24/7, and then after around 2 months, we had decided to separate in January, so there was like that 2-month period there that I was just going through a lot, and that was helping me a lot. And and then after about a couple months, I was like, you know what? I don't feel like wearing right now. But it really wasn't the sense of shame, and it was a really a new experience to just kind of be like, this thing that I love, I just don't feel like doing it right now, you know?
Yeah.
And it was a really awesome feeling to be able to just like leave them on the shelf and see them there, and know that if I wanted to go like interact with that side of myself, I was free to do so. But that I didn't have like I said, as I was growing up, a lot of the time that I was able to engage with kink, it was when I was home alone. And so if I was home alone, a lot of the time it was like, well, it's now or never. And so even if I was engaging in the kink, it wasn't necessarily like I was free to do so on my own time, I would kind of have to push myself into the mindset sometimes. But it was just a really awesome feeling to be able to like have my own space and be able to explore if I wanted to, or just let it be for now,
Yeah, having the option.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if you really associate getting to finally engage this thing that you've been wanting forever with the few moments that you're alone when you grow up in a big family. And then all of a sudden you're alone a lot, which may at first, or maybe for a long time, feel bad, right? As if you're used to, let's say you're in a long-term relationship or you're married and it feels weird to be alone, but at the same time, it opens up something that you've never had before. And so I think it makes sense to me to be like, well, shit, at least I can do this now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it makes you feel good at a time when really nothing else feels that good.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. Same exact story.
Yeah.
I mean, almost even down to the month, like in January, that's when it happened. So I engaged in it pretty heavy for a few months. And then, as time went on, I started to focus on other aspects of my life.
Yeah.
I was like, cool, I can finally do this thing that I wanted to do for so long. I'm living by myself. I can just wear whenever I want. And then eventually it's like, well, that's great. I love that option, but now I can go and do other stuff too.
Yeah. And it's always true now. So you don't have to wear.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I want to call something out there too, that maybe these ebbs and flows aren't a bad thing. Maybe that this is, like Blinkxz, you were saying there, like this is, you were content with that. You're like, wow, this option's good. So far we've talked about how, these ebbs and flows, and maybe you don't, this phase of like, I don't really feel like it right now. Maybe that's a bad thing, but actually maybe it's not, there's just, there's all sorts of spices of life. Yep. And, maybe as you grow and develop, everybody changes their interests. Maybe that's okay for a while, And I think one thing that people get scared of is like, oh, it's never going to come back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you've ever had the experience where you've been really cold for whatever reason, you've been really cold for maybe like an hour or more, and you just cannot remember what it felt like to be warm. Right. And then you fast forward 6 months and it's the dead of summer and you are so hot and you just cannot possibly fathom ever being cold again. Right. That's, I mean, humans, this is how we experience the world. We're kind of short-sighted like that. And I think that when I'm in an ebb, a time when I am not feeling it for whatever reason, it feels like I am never going to get it back.
Right. Yep.
And then when I'm in a flow, I can't imagine a time when I would not want to do this.
Right.
I'm like 24/7 is not enough. I need 26/9. You know what I mean? But then
overachiever.
Yeah, overachiever. I'll find a way. But then the ebbs come back and I go, oh my gosh, I guess I'm done with it for life now. Yeah. Which is just so silly, but it's in the dead of summer, it's hard to remember winter and vice versa.
Right. And I find it interesting that, when we're in this ebb period, as we're calling it, you almost feel shame for not wearing.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite
I'm a bad ABDL.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're just focusing on other stuff. One thing I can think of off the top of my head, I mean, I have been saying, I'm going to read a book for months now, and I had a busy period with work, so that's an excuse. Great. But even now, I haven't read a book or I haven't played tennis. I love tennis. And I feel almost some shame for not going and just playing tennis or reading a book.
Yeah.
But, I'm just focusing on other stuff right now in my life.
Yeah.
And that will come back. I will read a book eventually.
Yep.
I will play tennis again, and I will wear diapers again.
Yep.
So it kind of just goes back and forth.
Yeah. I'm curious, Kashi, if you had that experience of not just, I'm not doing it or I don't feel it right now, but if you had any of that sense of shame or concern that it was never coming back.
Oh, 100%. I've definitely felt that fear of like, oh my God, is this ever going to come back? But for me, the bigger side of that fear is so much of my world is linked to kink now. So many of my closest friends are also ABDLs. So for me, there's that like additional fear of, am I going to lose like my community? Am I not part of this community if I'm not feeling it? And that's when I start to feel very alone and isolated, and so that's where the big fear for me comes from.
That's such a big deal. And for those of us who do have friends in the ABDL community, I'm like you, Kashi. A lot of my friends are ABDL.
Same.
Thank you for pointing that out, that it can come with identity issues. It's not just what do I like, it's who am I and who do I hang out with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I go through enough like fads where I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a bunch of this, I'm going to do a bunch of that. So for me, it's less the fear of that, because I'm like, there's so much fun stuff to do in this world. Like, I'll find other fun stuff. But yeah, like losing all of my friends and like my found family, because for me, that's it. Like my family and work. That's kind of the only two links to the vanilla world I really have at this point. So worrying like, oh, are people not going to want to hang out with me anymore? Like ABDLs or kinky, like if I don't have like the time or energy or like desire to engage in this side of myself.
I do wonder if we put an expectation on ourselves that in order to hang with kinky people, we need to feel kinky and do kinky things.
I think so too. Yeah. But in my experience, that's really not the case. Generally the friends that you make in the community are, you have other things in common. There's a reason why you go and hang out. You're not just meeting up and doing scenes and doing kinky debauchery.
Right.
You're just going to dinner at a Waffle House or something.
Right.
And or just going and hanging out at a friend's house and playing video games, or there's a deeper connection than just kink. But I also have worried about the same thing. My social circle is very wrapped up in kink right now, just based on the history that I've had. Coming out of a long-term marriage and, going out into this world by myself and trying to find myself. And I was like, well, in that marriage, I couldn't really be myself in my kinky side. So let me explore that really hard. And that's essentially how I got to this point where I dove in really hard. I found what I like. And at this point in my life, I'm kind of like, wow, I've found that. And maybe I want to explore other facets of life at this point. Maybe I want to find friends in other areas too. So it's a concern because I've also kind of been feeling that ebb this year.
Yeah.
I'm still wearing once in a while to help my stress, but my, engagement in kink, I'd say this year has gone down overall. And I'm right now I'm like, wow, maybe I want to go rock climbing and find some friends there or something. But
yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder, as these ebbs have come, and Blinkxz, I'll ask you first, but have you feared losing relationships, or have you been concerned that this would compromise other things that you love or other people that you love?
There's definitely always been a little bit of a fear with that. Obviously, like if sometimes I'll worry that like if my desire to engage in kink doesn't match my partner's level of desire to also engage in that kink, like will we be incompatible? Because they'll be like, well, no, I want to do it now, and I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling it, and then they're like, I don't want to be with you anymore. Which,
Yeah,
like,
but I get
obviously,
it.
that's
get it.
silly, but, like, there's always that irrational part of your brain that's just yelling at you from the back of the cave, being like, "Hey,
Always.
this is gonna happen."
Yeah, for sure. And it's the same part of your brain that says you will never feel, this thing that's been around your whole life, you'll never see it again.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
That was the end of it, right?
Yep.
It's wild how, no matter how many years I practice conscious kink, how that voice is still there.
Right.
I mean, literally 2 days ago, I remember chatting with Lola, and we had an out loud discussion about our insecurities around this very topic.
Really?
Yeah. And we were like, okay, we're spending all this great time together, and we're going to, we want to be around each other forever. And wait, what if we stop being kinky? Wait, when was the last time we opened the box with the impact stuff in it?
Yeah.
When was the last time we took that straight jacket? Oh, if it's been too long, does that mean that we're not kinky anymore?
Yeah. So this new dimension here of the relationship aspect,
Yeah.
right? So I'm curious, if it ties into, I've heard a lot about, in long-term relationships that, the sex desire kind of goes down. You breed complacency, or you get really familiar,
Yeah.
and you stop being intentional with engaging in sexual activities.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's some of the same thing here too. So as time goes on, if you get really familiar with, your partner, and you get into this kind of status quo, if those desires would go down.
Right.
So in a similar way that, like vanilla sex might.
Yeah. And well, I mean, we've talked about before on the podcast that, like, one of the ways that kink works is that it's novel and surprising.
Yeah.
Right? The same way that if you see it, the same comedian 2 nights back to back, the second one's not that funny because you've already heard it, right? And sometimes sex with the same partner can be like that, or kink with the same partner can be like that, where once you know all each other's tricks, it's just a little bit less thrilling.
Yeah.
And so this is not what this episode's about, but I do think there are ways to make it thrilling. And there are also ways just to be okay with that for periods. And that's okay too.
Right.
I think the trick is begging off the insecurity that goes, well, this is the rest of your life now.
It's gone.
It's gone. It's never coming back. Even though it's been there for 45 years, it's definitely gone forever.
Right.
The other piece is age is a part of it too, right? I'm 45.
As you get older.
I have less of that, like, go jump their bones testosterone coursing through my veins than I did 10 years ago. And so if I refuse to incorporate that into my kink life and my sex life and recognize that that's happening, it's really tempting to be like, well, I guess I got boring. I guess this flame is out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But have you felt it come back in spurts as you've maybe had a better week than the past week? I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I'm still super responsive to things that I like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's the voice. The voice is kind of the enemy, the one that goes, well, this is how it is for all time.
Yeah.
So
I think it's just maybe stepping back and reflecting on, well, I have had this my entire life. It's probably not going to go away. And, maybe go back and reflect on what was your life like when you did have this period of, novel experiences and everything, and how can you recreate that? Because my guess is there's probably something else underlying that, whether it's in a relationship, some sort of tension, or, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, like the world and how everybody's stressed, or just, life circumstances and, or living situations. So maybe there's something underlying that's causing, stress, anxiety, maybe even depression.
That's a big one.
That maybe you should dive into and address, because that is a possible reason why you might not feel kinky. You might not feel desire for anything,
right?
And that could be a situation where there's depression, or so it's just be open to that. Always want to encourage seeking professional help. Therapy is a great resource when you're feeling those sort of things. So definitely want to call that out here. If you are feeling this and you feel like it's a problem, and you're like, wow, this has gone on for a while, I don't know what's going on, maybe seeking out some talk therapy or a psychiatrist could be helpful.
That's great advice. How has this affected if I can ask, Kashi and Blinkxz, how has this affected your relationship together as you both have experienced ebbs and flows?
Well, I would say, like, I think both of us have been pretty stressed lately for various different reasons. Some separate, some shared. But I'm happy for Kashi to chime in here too as well if she wants. But we recently went on a little trip together, and we like I said, we've been pretty stressed leading up to it, and our engagement together, like with kink, had been pretty sporadic, definitely on the lower end of things. But I got there, I arrived to our destination a little bit after she did, and we went to the beach, and literally, like the second we got to the beach, she was like, "Hey, can you take some nudes of me?" And I like, as she was saying that, I was like, "Hey, can I take some nudes of you?"
Oh,
and like,
that's awesome.
it was just so awesome that like as soon as we got on vacation and we were both able to like relax and like release that breath of stress, both of us were instantly both like, I feel back, you know?
Wow.
To be fair, that is kind of my signature question. Can I take my clothes off?
That's true.
Will you get pictures of me? So it was pretty easy for us to mismatch sentences on that.
When I first met Kashi, she introduced herself and said, "I'm good at two things, art and taking my clothes off."
There you go.
And I was like, I'm ready to see both.
Those are two good things for me, yeah.
I think you're good at a lot of things, but those are two things you're very good at.
Yeah, so it's almost like stepping out of your daily lives, the stress that comes with that, and going to this new place and this new experience helped you reconnect with yourself, right? Wouldn't you say?
100%. Even when we got home too, like the night we got back, we just took some time to like play together and play with the toys we don't usually play with, and just kind of like escape from our everyday stressful worlds, and then kind of come back into them with a fresh perspective and some of the weight lifted.
I think that this is starting to turn the corner into an advice show.
Whoa.
Because that was really good
That'd
advice.
Be a really cool podcast, actually.
That would be. Yeah. We should make one. Kashi, what you just shared, and Blinkxz, what you shared is really illuminating for me, that like the second that you walked onto the beach, you're now in a different context, and you have reduced or stepped away from the day-to-day stress and frankly the monotony, right? When we talk about different, that's something new, something novel of your day-to-day life. It just went away. And that's starting to feel like good advice to me.
Agreed.
And it doesn't have to be a vacation, but can you get into a different context? And is there something you can do to pause or manage the day-to-day stress?
Yeah. I mean, I know this year, I've just felt like I'm just going all the time. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Something's happening every day. And I hadn't had much time for myself.
Yeah.
And I've noticed in the past when I slow down and just kind of sit there, put the phone down, just sit there with my own thoughts, I tend to start feeling like myself again.
Oh.
And that's a way, without going on vacation or, I mentioned at the beginning, the summer travels that I have coming up. There's a way to do that and create that space within within yourself.
Yeah.
Just put that phone away. Just disconnect, right? I think we're all very connected at this point. And, I know me personally, I tend to look at the news more than I should. And I've noticed when I do that, I tend to forget who I am and start getting, absorbed into that.
Yeah.
So, going on to the advice here, I would say just slow down a little bit, reflect on, where you're at, and disconnect if you can, even if you're home.
That can be so hard to do. And I wonder if even if you're home, meaning in the same city, could bring you to a park or to a hike, or even just to a part of town you never go to.
Something new.
Yeah. Because it makes such a difference.
It does. Yeah. And I mean, I can talk about nature literally forever.
Yeah.
It's like a spiritual experience for me to be in nature.
Yeah.
But it really does help center me. So if I'm feeling very overwhelmed, I'll go on a hike, as you mentioned, or I'll just go watch a sunset somewhere and just take it all in. And I come back and I feel more like myself. And myself is an ABDL. And I've noticed that I do feel like a desire to wear diapers more often when I do that. Even if I'm super stressed and just going a million miles an hour, if I can just go watch a sunset, I'll come back feeling better.
Yeah.
So don't shy away from that self-care. If there's something that you like to do, even if it isn't, even if it's just wear a diaper, maybe if you force yourself to do it, maybe that'll help.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just go out and, find what makes you happy. And that might pull you back to yourself a little bit.
It's funny because if you were to listen to only the last 3.5 minutes of this podcast, we would sound like every Eat, Pray, Love podcast. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And if you're sitting at home going, guys, no, I want to get a raging erection, and you're talking about going into nature, and I'm not sure what the connection is, right? However, I will say there is really good science behind the idea that you have a really hard time getting the sexual, as Emily Nagoski called it, the gas versus the brakes. You have a really hard time getting the gas going when you are extremely tired, when you are depressed, when you are really stressed, like chronically stressed, when you are afraid, or when you are insecure. That those are times that it doesn't matter how much you want to be turned on. It's very difficult. And the advice that you just gave of going to a place, in your case, nature, right, that helps you feel centered. If Lola were here, she would say embodied.
Oh yeah,
back in your body, because that's what Lola likes to say. I would describe it as returning to your sense of self, just whatever normal you feels like.
Yeah,
and that is absolutely an erotic act, in so much as it frees up the space.
Yeah.
For you then to remember what it's like to feel sexual again.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard when you're in your daily life and you're just going and working and financial pressures, world pressures, everything, to remember that.
Yeah.
But just going to a beach, maybe, and just showing up there and being, oh, wait, I want to take nudes of you. that just pulled you back to yourself right there. And that had a lasting impact, as our guest said too, when they got back. So
I wonder, how did you, I mean, you can share as much or as little detail as you want, but how did you guys then sort of continue that spirit? So you do these amazing nudes, you're on the beach. Did you intentionally seek out then other kinky shit to get up to?
So I had actually made plans with a rigger, like a shibari rigger, down where we were going to hang out. So I actually met up with him the day I got in and had done a little rope labbing session, and it went so well that he had asked if I wanted to meet up later in the week. So we then had an entire beach day where we just took the car, drove about an hour, and spent some time on the most beautiful beach I've ever been to doing shibari. And it was the most incredible day of just like fun, playing in the sand, going swimming, doing some rope, hanging out with a cool person, and just feeling free. So like that day in and of itself, we also got to go to a nude beach that day, which has been on my bucket list for forever.
Oh, that's cool.
It was such an incredibly rewarding day, and it made me realize that I need to take more days like that, even if it's just like going to get ice cream or like doing something little for myself, like painting my nails. I need to start taking care of myself more and just kind of replenishing my spirit, so I'm not just constantly like dragging along with the everyday monotony, like you guys were saying.
Yeah. Blinkxz, how did you, if at all, how did you continue to access that spirit?
I think it's just being reminded of like how intentional you have to be about like just being yourself, I guess, and just being kinky. And sometimes like now that I'm living, with a partner who's kinky, sometimes it can just feel like, oh, I'm always kinky. But to take the time to set it aside and be like, we're gonna like go do this, and not that we're forcing ourselves to be kinky in that time, but setting aside the time to be kinky if we want to. It made it feel so much more like accessible and just enjoyable to just, I don't know, to like engage with it with intention,
Yes. Yeah.
It made a big difference because, like I said, sometimes, we're living here and we'll wear a diaper in the evenings and stuff like that, but it just doesn't feel the same, as like going into it with that mindset of engaging in it, and specifically also engaging with each other,
Yeah.
makes a big difference for sure.
I'm really glad you called that out because just, for instance, wearing a diaper may make you happy, but if you're doing it all the time, it may not feel that kinky.
Yeah.
Much like anything that you do all the time. Like,
kind of loses that the eroticism.
Yeah, because again, part of kink is taboo and surprise. That's part of how it works. Now, that doesn't make it a bad idea, but as you said, Blinkxz, you really have to be intentional. And even with my own partner, with Lola, she's wearing diapers all the time. It's really hot. I have diapers in my closet 10 feet from my bed at all times that I can wear anytime I want. It's wonderful. And if we want to have a truly novel erotic experience, we have to choose that.
To create that, yeah.
You don't just walk around super horny all the time. You can't.
Right.
So you have to be intentional. I thought, Blinkxz, that was such a great word. You have to be intentional.
Yeah. One example that I thought of there was, I've noticed for a lot of people, when you live in a city, you tend to not go out and do anything in the city, like the tourist attractions. You don't go like to the museums. You don't do all this. I think it's because in your mind, it's like, oh, well, I'm here. I'll be here in the future. So what's the rush?
Yeah.
Versus, when I traveled a lot around the US, I would show up in a city. I'd like, hey, friend, I'm here. And then they would drop whatever and just come out because, oh, there's like this limited time offering. Like, I'm only here for one night. So come on out and let's meet up, But I think you can create that space when you're in your own city of, go and have an adventure, go and see something, even if you'll be there forever. So having that intentionality with your partner kind of works the same way, where, you might be living together, you might have this long-term relationship, but you can still say, hey, honey, I want to go and take you on a date every Thursday or something.
Yeah. Be
intentional with that romanticism, with the kink elements. And maybe that'll create a spark or something novel that you can get up to.
And it works with solo kink too. That you can make little dates with yourself where you decide, dude, this Thursday night, I'm doing something I've never done before.
What are you doing?
I don't know. But I mean, isn't that fun to think about?
Yeah.
Like, this Thursday night, I'm trying the banana trick.
Yeah.
Or this Thursday night, I'm putting on Lilo and Stitch and the biggest 2 dips I have, or whatever that thing happens to be for you. And it can be a little silly, and it can be a little bit, as long as it's different.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel new.
Yeah.
That can be such a great way to kickstart your connection to the kink.
And it's difficult sometimes to create that, because there's only so many things. You got to get creative.
Yeah.
I think one thing we did the other night, actually, that comes to mind that worked really well for us was kind of just acknowledging, like, it's okay if, like, you're stressed and you're just, like, going through a bit of an ebb, to not feel like you have to live up to the things you do when you're in a flow. So, for example, sex can be an anxiety-inducing experience, or definitely me. I think perhaps a lot of people as well. For me, it's a very like OCD thing. Sometimes like I feel like gross. I feel like I need to shower. I can experience pain if I'm not like fully feeling it. Like even if I want to have sex, it can be painful if I am too stressed and I'm like clenching and whatnot. And sometimes like you start to feel like, oh, dang, we're in a rut. But just finding other ways to engage with that. So, for example, we decided to have diaper sex where we were just using like vibrators and, kissing and doing other things. But we didn't actually have to like take the diapers off. Like we could just keep everything contained. It was easy to clean up. And like that worked really well for us. And we both even kind of said to each other at the end, why don't we do that more often? And I think sometimes it feels like, I don't know, I do this too. Like, I feel like I'm like, oh, we haven't been like romantic in a while. Life's been too crazy. Like, let's have date night. Let's make it this big extravagant thing. And I feel like I'm always too tired to actually make it happen when I am going through one of these ebbs. So figuring out with both of our anxieties and just both of our like energy levels and all of that good stuff, how can we engage in this in a sustainable way? That has been incredibly helpful, even like since getting back from vacation. Just kind of trying to reframe it like that.
What a brilliant concept of sustainable sex. How can we do this in a way that I would do it? I'd be able to do it again sometime soon. And I totally identify with like getting nervous about these big date plans, these big sex plans. Or for me, sometimes it's like these big kink scenes that you've been talking about forever.
Oh yeah.
That can be anxiety. I mean, again, if we're going to talk about the things that put the brakes on, that's pressure and insecurity. That's both.
Those are killers.
Yeah, they're real killers.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of sustainable sex. How can I do whatever version of sex feels good to me in a way that I could return to? And rubbing diapers sounds like a pretty good way to get there.
That sounds fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that. Not me and you.
No,
though.
not me and you.
Yeah. I think Lola might object to this point. I also I really appreciate you guys calling out that like sometimes you sometimes you find a way. And then sometimes you find a way to return to whatever that one feeling you had is, and doing the thing that you thought was so hot, like nudes on the beach and shibari. But then other times you're just trying some goofy new shit. And you don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the play and part of the fun is like, well, that didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, kink is meant to be a fun experience.
Yeah.
But just keep it light. Just go into any experience with this lighthearted attitude. And if it doesn't work out, then that's okay. And you learn from it and try something else. Right.
We get to experience that. It was just a new position that we were like, well, how about this?
Yeah.
And we both got done. Same response that you guys had. Why don't we do this more often? Like, this is awesome. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it could have just as easily totally failed, and we would have laughed at that too.
Just laugh at it, yeah.
And been like, well, we don't like that one. We can check that one off the list,
Yeah. Well, friends, I know we've been on for a while here. I was curious if either of you have any other advice or thoughts for those out there that are, maybe going through a lot of stress right now, or maybe even potentially depression. Like what if you were in their shoes and you were trying to just find your way back to ABDL? Is there any other advice that you would throw out there?
I would say, I think we've said this quite a few times, but just try and connect with yourself, and whether that's being alone or I found that I can be myself a lot, which is, I think, a little bit of the opposite of a lot of people. But sometimes when I go into the city I live in and I just put in headphones and I just like go and walk down the street and kind of do a little dance, and I'm just like, I don't know, it just puts me in my zone. Just whatever you can do to try and feel like yourself.
Yeah.
I think you'll find your way back there. And whether that includes professional help or whatever, just try to get out there and connect with yourself.
I love that advice.
Yeah, me too.
Kashi, any advice for our folks who are thinking, hey, how do I work my way out of this ebb, or how do I make this ebb work for me?
Yeah, so I actually just had a friend of mine in the community ask me exactly this the other day, because both of us are currently looking for new jobs, and it is an incredibly stressful job market out there right now.
Yeah.
But what we're both going through is experiencing, like, I don't feel like I can engage with my little side. Like, he was asking me, like, how, like, are you experiencing this too? Like, how do you get back in touch with it? And what we were talking about and what's worked for both of us so far is kind of just trying to carve out, like, specific times where even if you don't get into that little space, like, just, like, enjoy the things that you enjoy when you're in it, and don't put so much pressure on, like, kind of like you can enjoy sex even if you don't come. You can enjoy watching Bluey and wearing a dip and eating some fruit snacks even if you don't fully reach little space. And just still kind of like engaging in those activities and taking some time for yourself as like self-care. And just kind of like riding out that wave until you hit a flow again.
That's such a good idea.
Yeah.
And to me, like if I've been, let's say, not working out for 6 months, I haven't gone to the gym in 6 months, I don't know that I would only count as a success if I get on the bench and put up a new personal record, right? If I get on the bench at all,
that's a start.
Then I am better than I was the day before.
Yeah.
If you put on that onesie, or you grab yourself those fruit snacks, or you find yourself just enjoying a quiet, lovely moment of fantasy, awesome.
That's enough. Yeah. And there's no ABDL handbook or guide to be the perfect ABDL, right? So
I've been meaning to write one.
You should. Out of all the people out there, ROI, I think you could write a pretty damn good book.
It would, thank you. It'd be 1 page long, and it would say you're already doing it right.
So there you go.
That'll be $12.95.
Yeah. So I think if you are feeling like you're not enough or you aren't doing it right, just know that it's okay. If you're going through an ebb right now, or you're feeling really strong about everything right now, that's okay. There's no perfect way to do ABDL. So don't force the desire.
Yeah.
You know, you can talk, you can work with yourself, ask for support from friends, seek professional help if you need, you know, if there's some underlying condition that you might want to explore and get deeper into, but it's okay. Don't force it. It will come back. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think in this particular day and age with the amount of stress out there in the world, you know, again, I mentioned disconnecting. That's great. One thing that's really helped me in the most stressful parts of my life is showing gratitude to what I do have. You know, the world might be a crazy place, but, you know, maybe I can write a letter to a friend or just send them a text that says, you know, friend, I am so thankful for you right now. You have been there for me for years and been through a lot of stuff together. Thank you. You know, and that feels good to kind of give that back.
Yeah.
Or, you know, maybe just like hand out little trinkets. Like when I go to CapCon, I love giving out these little mini bears to everybody, and it just makes people smile and makes me feel good too. So if you're feeling that stress right now of just all the weight of the world or financial pressures or job stressors, as our guest mentioned, you know, try to find some space for gratitude and reflect on what you have in your life that is serving you well, and go and embrace that and acknowledge it. You know, I think a lot of us kind of go through our daily lives and don't stop and just, you know, say the quiet part out loud with like, you know, I am thankful for you.
Yeah.
You know, other than Thanksgiving, I guess we do that. You know,
Yeah, we do.
once a year.
And sometimes on somebody's birthday.
Yes. So I guess that's my, you know, last piece of advice.
That's
there
good.
is just, you know, if you're feeling overwhelmed right now with whatever stress there is, try to find some quiet space. Go to nature, go to a city, as Blink said.
Yeah.
And maybe just embrace those around you and seek out support.
Yeah. And I'll say sexual attraction is a bizarre and wonderful and complex thing.
Oh yeah.
And there are very few things that are more natural than the ebbs and flows of sexual attraction. And I'll just remind us that nature loves ebbs and flows. My God. Every time day turns to night, every time summer turns to spring, every time we fall asleep and wake up again, every time people die and other people are born, this is how nature rolls, is in ebbs and flows. And to try and fight that is to fight the nature of our very being. The question becomes, is this just an ebb? If so, how do I make it work for me?
Yep.
What do I do with this extra time I have that I'm not constantly thinking about ABDL? Can I pick up something else that I've wanted to be about? Great. If it has gone on for months and months and that's uncharacteristic for you, you might ask the bigger question, is there something else going on? Am I living in a state of perpetual chronic stress?
There you go.
Am I living in a state of depression? Am I living in a state of insecurity? Am I living in a state of fear? And if so, how can I address those issues? Not so that I can get out of the ebb, but so that I can fix those issues.
Yes.
And then after having done so, create space for this to come back. But don't fight the ebb.
Yeah.
It's
That's
not
good
bad.
advice.
And ABDL is going to be here when you get back.
Yep.
The community is going to be here we've been around a real long time. And there's no champion of ABDL. It's not a game you can win. It's just a place to go and be. So don't force it.
That's why you're the best, ROI. Great advice.
Thanks. You're the best. Shut up.
No, you.
Kashi and Blinkxz, thank you both so much for sharing your wisdom and your stories with us today. And I just so appreciate the vulnerability it takes to say, raise your hand and go, I am in the middle of something right now.
Yeah.
And I bet other people are too. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having us on, for having me on.
It was a pleasure as always.
I feel like this last hour has been really like awesome for me personally, and so there's already one person that this episode has really helped. So hooray.
I love that.
It's working.
I actually felt like my blood pressure drop
Yes.
as people described how they get out of their anxiety, and then I started to get turned on. It's like I literally created space for it, and then it happened. So way to go, everybody! Now I'm horny.
Go put on a diaper.
It's that terrible feeling too of like, oh, other people are also experiencing this awful feeling. It's
You're
not
not
just
alone.
me. Oh, this makes me feel better, but then it makes me feel worse that I feel better about that.
It's so weird because it's like, you're not alone in what you're going through, but oh my gosh, is it so reassuring to hear that other people are also experiencing what you're experiencing and you can relate to them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially to hear that they've recovered from it, to know that they've gone through it and they've come out the other side. Kink still intact.
Yep. Yeah, kink still intact, still friends with everybody we were friends with before, still feel part of the community.
Yeah.
It just comes and goes.
So friends, just take a few deep breaths, give yourself some grace, and, lean on those in your life that are there for you. We will get through this, whatever this happens to be.
Yeah. Teddy, you want to take us home?
Yeah, sure thing. So Kashi and Blinkxz, if anybody wants to reach out to you and get in touch with you, how could they do that?
I'm Bonsai Baby on most of the regular platforms. So FetLife, Instagram. I have Tumblr, but I don't check it these days.
Okay. And if it's Kashi, like the cereal.
No, like Kashi Sensei. Stupid cereal.
It's ruining your good rep.
And Blinkxz,
It
if anybody
is.
wanted to reach out to you, how could they reach you?
Fet is probably the best way. I'm Blinkxz on Fet, Blinkxz.
Ooh, fancy. Very nice. And ROI, if anybody wanted to reach out to us at the podcast, how could they do that?
Heck yeah. Well, a couple different ways to do it. You can reach out to Love in Brief on Instagram. We have our own Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Love in Brief. You can also reach me on newly-ish on Reddit at Resonant Yes 99. And you're on there as well, Teddy.
I am, yeah. Teddy Bear with me. That's kind of my standard handle. There are various underscores or dashes. I can't remember what is what.
It's some combination of them.
Yep. So I'm on Instagram, Teddy Bear _ with me. We'll try to be on there more often soon. I have been a very busy year, as we've talked about here, but
Yep.
yeah, and we also have a FetLife group, so folks want to reach out to us on there too at the podcast. That's
I
11.
love when people reach out on there.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
Yes, and we've been really good being more engaged with the group on there and asking questions and sourcing guests from on there. So please check us out on there, FetLife, the Love and Brief group, and on Reddit. We like to ask some questions on there and get some testimonials basically for the podcast, or people can ask questions.
Yep. You can also hit me up at Resonant Yes at Tumblr and on Instagram and on FetLife.
Yep.
And that's all we got for this week. We have another exciting episode coming up. I'm recording on Saturday, all about cloth diapers.
Whoa.
I know.
Not my jam, but have fun.
I know. So this is a topic we've gotten so many asks for over the years, and I've just been really slow to pull it together. And I'm super excited about that.
Maybe I'll learn something new. Maybe I'll find a new passion.
Yeah, maybe you'll fall in love with them. Who knows?
There you go.
In the meantime, this has been another episode of Love in Brief.